Good morning, Britain. The interest rate crisis laid bare as a new Good Morning Britain poll reveals nearly half of people have been forced to borrow money to cover their mortgage payments in the last year, while 1 in 10 saw their rent rise by more than £200 a month.
Martin Lewis is going to be joining us this morning with advice on how you can put the government's new support into practice and why he says you must do a meter reading by Saturday.
The mother of Stephen Lawrence calls for police officers to be sacked after they failed to investigate a prime suspect in her son's murder 30 years ago.
And the lad left with the lungs of an 80-year-old lifelong smoker. We meet the aspiring boxer who spent weeks in intensive care after vaping for 6 months in an attempt to give up cigarettes when he was just 16 years old. And the consultant who says the NHS must now change the rules.
Go hard or go home, literally from the gym. A personal trainer has revealed she dumps clients who don't stick to her plan. Is this approach going to help you lose weight? Debating that this morning.
And the man under the fedora is back as Harrison Ford returns for Indiana Jones' Last Crusade. Find out why the latest instalment is all about the years and the mileage for the iconic adventurer.
42 years we've been following this guy. It's about time for him to grow up a little bit.
A cloudier start for many of us with outbreaks of rain across the north, and the outlook remains unsettled. I'll have all the details of that and more coming up on Good Morning Britain.
Tuesday, 27th of June, 2023. Live from Television Centre in London, this is Good Morning Britain with Susanna Reid and Ed Balls.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Laura.
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, what? That's a nice way to be introduced. Good morning, Britain. It's just gone 6 o'clock. Welcome to the programme.
How are you?
Very good.
Did you take steps?
Yes.
What did you do?
So, yesterday I admitted that because I had received an invitation to a mammogram rather than a mammogram appointment, I had done what, unfortunately, 12,000 other people, other women in London had done and not gone ahead and booked an appointment.
And we know from the news about Sarah Ferguson how important it is to go and to have those appointments for the screens because that was the thing which got her to find out what had happened and have the operation.
Exactly right. And she'd said that she was reluctant to go, but it was her sister saying...
Because it was hot weather or something.
Yes. Well, the hot weather, I find it, exhausting.
What was your excuse?
So my excuse was I just didn't get round to it.
Right.
And so yesterday I got round to it.
Good.
So firstly, I went online and looked up where the breast screening services are in my area on the NHS website and rang the number to be told, I'm really sorry, this isn't the number to ring for your breast screening. So I thought,
that could have put lots of people off.
Well, do you know what I mean? So that's a hurdle, isn't it? And I said, well, the number is on the website. And the lovely woman said, oh, I'll pass that to my manager. So then she gave me another number. So I then rang the next number and was told, we can give you an appointment at this hospital. And I said, oh, that's kind of a little bit far away. Can I have a nearer one? And she said, well, your nearer one is actually outside your NHS area, so I'll have to pass you on to another number. So that was the second hurdle. And then the next number that I was put through to, you see, you're losing interest already, and you can see why people...
No, it's really important. Keep going.
It is important. The next number said, because it's outside of your area, we can't give you an appointment on the phone. We're going to send you a letter with an appointment. That will come within 2 weeks, and then your appointment should come within 6 weeks. So I think I've got an appointment. But of course, I then have to have an appointment at a convenient time. Anyway, all I'm saying is it was straightforward enough. Just a couple of hurdles in the way.
It's such an important issue, though, because these simple things... I had an issue when I was Member of Parliament. They were going to move the screening unit by the leisure centre to 2 miles away, and you'd have to get a bus. And what you know is that for some people, it will just end up that becomes something that they don't quite manage to do. And that then becomes people who end up not finding out about treatment that they need, even if it's a small minority of people who will need it. So it's really important to persevere.
Yeah.
It sounds like you...
I've persevered
most of the day.
I will keep you updated on the progress of my mammogram and go and get yourselves checked. And a lot of people did get in touch yesterday to say, actually, in their particular NHS trust areas, they are still being sent appointments, which takes out one of the obstacles. I know that it's difficult for the NHS when people don't turn up for their appointments or change them if they can't make them. But it does seem to make it a little bit easier.
The Health Minister was saying she was on this and she was going to have meetings. So we need to find out from her quickly whether she's going to change the guidance and get it back to those specific appointments. I personally think that is more likely to work. If you're told come that date at that time, you either go or you change it.
Yes.
Whereas if it's ring up and make an appointment,
exactly right.
do you get around to it?
Anyway, so thank you for all your messages on that yesterday, and do
your
go.
Instagram was awash with them.
It was awash. I was being told off for not taking responsibility for my health. But I'm only pointing out I am representative of thousands of women who have found, you know, that the new system isn't working for them.
And later in the show, we're going to find out whether you do as you're told when you go to your gym with your personal trainer.
Oh, I know, yeah, getting dumped by your personal trainer. Hasn't happened to me yet. Please, Trish, I'm trying to follow the plan. But our main story this morning is about the impact of those interest rate rises. Homeowners and renters have told this programme they're now being forced to borrow more money every month from family, friends and on credit cards so that they can pay their monthly mortgage and rent. An exclusive survey for this show has laid bare the brutal impact of the latest interest rate rises on people already struggling with the cost of living crisis.
Later today, the government and the Labour Party will debate a raft of radical proposals to defuse the so-called mortgage time bomb. With more on this and on the survey, we can talk to Jonathan Swain, who's actually with us here in the studio. Some of the survey findings are pretty shocking. 1 in 10 people have seen their rent rise by more than £200 a month.
That's right. Morning, Ed. Morning, Susanna. We all know that things are financially tough, don't we? We've seen it ourselves on this programme, but things have really surprised us looking at this survey. We've been talking about the cost of living crisis since the start. Susanna, you've been hosted a special programme on it. I've been talking to viewers who are struggling with their bills, and the rest of our team have been reporting from food banks, high streets and picket lines. So let's take a look at what impact all of this is having on all of us, because we're all struggling at the minute. We've found that 32% of mortgage holders are struggling to make their current payments. Remember, we're talking about mortgages here, something that has to be paid. And now what is really worrying is that amongst that group, 44% have already borrowed money to help with their mortgage repayments in the last year. So possibly borrowing money at an even higher rate just to keep afloat. And of the struggling renters that we spoke to, 43% have also had to borrow money, with the majority admitting that they even turn to family for financial help. But some have even told us that they're putting money on their credit card. So people are really going to struggle and possibly paying even more for it. So what are the political parties doing all about this then? Well, the Labour Party want to debate this in Parliament, as Ed was just saying later on today. But when it comes to mortgage help, they have very similar proposals to the Conservatives. Both say they want to make banks wait before allowing them to start repossessions. Labour, it's 6 months. The Tories, it's 12 months. Both also want to make sure that banks let borrowers who are up to date with their repayments switch to an interest-only mortgage. This could potentially reduce their monthly payments. And both Labour and the government say you should be able to take up these options without it affecting your credit score. So there's lots of options on the table. Nothing, though, appears to be helping all of us at the moment. Maybe we need to look somewhere else over this.
Yeah, Jonathan, what do you think about these proposals? Enough to make a difference?
Well, let me tell you, you would think that these interest rates are at their highest levels for 15 years and it should be helping and benefiting pensioners. But we've all seen that banks are not passing this on to their customers. This is something that the Chancellor is pushing them on.
It is taking too long for the increases in interest rates to be passed on to savers, particularly with instant access accounts. The rates are more frequently being passed on to people who have fixed-term, fixed-notice accounts. I raised that issue in no uncertain terms with the banks when I met them.
So, as we've seen, their politicians say they are aware of the impacts. They are talking about it, but can they force the banks to make the changes that we need? Interest rates do not appear to be coming down anytime soon. And as we've seen, the mortgage time bomb has a very short fuse.
Jonathan, thank you. After 8 o'clock, we will speak to money-saving expert Martin Lewis. He met with the Chancellor last week, stressing the need for proper support for struggling mortgage holders and renters as well, and the need for banks not to ramp up their profit margins. Carol says, can't believe the interest rates have gone up again. We're on a variable. It has tripled. Pam says, my husband and myself lived in the same private rented property for 8 years. Last year, rent went up by £100 a month. This year, they put it up by another £350 a month. Surely this can't be right. That's a lot. And we'll ask Martin Lewis about that and what you can do if your landlord is putting your rent up to a point where you just simply can't afford it.
There is, though, a big difference compared to last year and all the discussion about energy bills. With the energy bills, them going up because of the war in Ukraine was a bad thing. But with mortgage rates, the reason why they're going up is because the Bank of England is choosing to raise them.
Yes.
So actually, it's what they say we have to do.
Yep.
And that is, like, materially different for the government, because they can't say they want to stop this. They have to support it.
Yeah, but the bank's putting up interest rates because it wants to bring down inflation. But that suggests that the bank is making it harder for people to borrow money because they think people are spending too much money, which is the reason why we have high inflation.
That's exactly
but the reason we have high inflation is not because people are spending too much money willfully. They're spending too much money because energy bills are really high, because food prices are ridiculously high. In fact, the supermarket bosses have been called in front of MPs today to see what they can do to bring costs down. I mean, this idea that people are just splashing money around and you need to put up interest rates so they don't borrow more money to splash out is just ludicrous. That's my view. We'll find out Martin Lewis, who is a proper expert's view, after 8 o'clock. And we'll discuss this further with Andrew Pearce and Kevin Maguire and Salim Shafi from the charity Money Buddies, who always has good advice. First, though, here's Ranvir with the rest of the day's news.